Hello, welcome back. It's another episode of Haggis. If you like this kind of stuff, you know the game, don't, can't turn it off, etc, etc, etc. If you want to contact me, Church House Classics, it's all one word. Even in 2021, it's still all one word, at gmail.com. There's a linky thing down here somewhere if you fancy subscribing to the channel to motivate me, continue to motivate me on doing these high quality presentations. But yeah, enjoy the video. Thank you very much for watching. It's done. So where are we? Because the last video kind of ended on a despondent note. I'm sorry about that, chaps. I didn't mean to be despondent about it. I've got all the bits. I need to convert this now. So I've managed to get hold of the parts for the alternator, which sits on this side. You can see it's a fairly substantial bracket. The aircon, if it was fitted, would go up here. But the alternator goes down there. I've got to sort all these brackets and breathers and God knows what else out. So all he's still doing. And there's the all-important bracket down there for the power steering. So that's all done. Gasket paper's on its way for the water pump. And we're getting there. I've got all the bits I need. As you can see, I've been busy making up the brake lines. So I've done a nice job here of the brake lines. Of course I've done a nice job. I always do a nice job. But I've done a job of the brake lines going down towards the front driver's side. I haven't put the new brake hoses on yet, but I've got those now. I've got there. That's Goodrich aero hoses. I found a bonnet hinge when I was shifting all my stuff out. This is actually a bonnet hinge off a British Racing Green Range Rover that I owned before I owned L95 that I scrapped, unfortunately. Well, I wish I hadn't scrapped it now, but back then it was worth buttons. It was worth 500 quid, so I scrapped it because it was just rusty. But I've got a bonnet hinge for that, so that can go straight on. The only thing that still troubles me is the accelerator cable, and I cannot get one. I'm going to end up having to make something up out of a bike cable. So where are we? Accelerator cable, accelerator cable, accelerator cables. What have I done with them? Well, it doesn't help that I've lost the bloody thing, does it really? Might have to edit this bit out. There we go, under here. Right, so what we've basically got here is the old accelerator cable and the new accelerator cable. So I'm going to have a chat with the bloke who sold me these brackets to see if he has still got the throttle cable or whether he cut it. This is the original cable, and you can see it's got a sliding mechanism which goes onto the onto the pump. And the idea behind this is, I guess it gives a little bit of play before it pulls the throttle open, so you've got a bit of play on the throttle cable. I don't think there's any other reason for that slidey bit on there. So I just think what I actually need is an end-to-end cable with these two bits on. Now this is out of a 200 TDI. If I can unravel it. This is part number, I haven't got my right glasses on here, whatever that says, ANR 3606. I bought my nighttime reading glasses and my daytime driving glasses, which is all a bit of a fuck up really. Now, basically what I need is the cable to go across there, across the top of the engine, and then down to here. Now it might be just about long enough. It might. I'm not completely given up on this yet, but obviously we want to make sure that this thing is going to fit properly and is going to not snag or cause issues in service. You can already see this thing is probably a bit on the too short side. I don't want to have any sharp kinks or anything yet like that, so I'll try and fit it. I mean, worst comes to the worst, I've got a spare 200 TDI throttle cable, which is really not an issue. Always going to need stuff like that, and it was only a few quid anyway. Yeah, so that's really that. So today, main job today is to get, because I've got all of the gaskets, I've got the CV joints, I've got the discs, I've got everything I need now. I'm going to assemble these front end, these front end. I'm going to assemble the front end and get it all together with the brake lines and everything. One thing that has been causing me difficulties are these bolts. Now these are the bolts that hold the bottom swivel pin in place. I mashed them up, pulling them out, and I'm buggered if I can find the right ones. Anyway, I found a part supplier that does the right tensile strength, and these ones are, I think they were 8.8. But they're the right thing. I just need to put a bit of thread lock on there. They can go in, hold the bottom swivel pin in, and then we're done on the swivel. And I can start putting the CV joints and everything in, which I've got down here. new CV joints. CV joint, there we are. Got a pair of those somewhere. There's another one around somewhere. I wonder where the other one's gone. So I've been tipping boxes around, you see. I'll find it, it won't be far. I've got drive shafts over here, so I'm just going to assemble it all together and get it done. And then we are done. Brakes can go on, discs can go on, I've got all of that lot. It's all there. So I'm going to crack on. And I shall keep you posted at various stages throughout this process of getting this front end put back together again. I've also bought my, what's his name, Pitman arm puller, because I'm going to need to get the arm off the steering box that's in here, or work on it in situ to replace the ball joint. If you remember, the ball joint was knackered. I've got the new steering arms through, which I've kind of got lots of grease and stuff on, and assembled the ends. I just need to get it at the right length. I also need to, the steering arm that's on the car, I need to take it off and cut one of the ends off so I can rob the clip off it. But it's knackered and seized up anyway, so it's scrap. Heating unit, new motor arrived. See, you get challenges when it comes to the wiring, because the wiring is not quite exactly the same. So I need to sort that out. I think on this, the brown, for some reason, is the earth, and the yellow is the live. So what I'll do is I'll cut these cables, splice them onto there with butt connectors, fit that motor back into the housing. For the matrix, I've been steadily pouring Coca-Cola through it, and it is getting better. I've probably got this full again now, so I'll leave it in there for a few hours, swirl it around, tip it out. And the first time it took me about 4 hours to fill that matrix up with cola, so it was properly plugged up. This time it took me 2 minutes, so it's improving. The situation is improving. Right, front discs. Yeah, it's always worth just double checking the thickness of your discs. I was a bit suspicious about these when I first saw them, and they are, when it does say on the inside 22 millimeter minimum thickness, and these are 16.6 millimeters, to be truthful. That's quite thin, isn't it? When you can see, when compared to the new, the step in between. Anyway, scrap leads going on. When you mess around with discs and things, it's always easy just to mount the hub in an upturned wheel and use the wheel studs just to brace it against it. Obviously I've got all the bearings and the seals out. The next thing I'll do is just go over and clean up that face to make sure there's nothing on it, so the disc is going to sit absolutely flat against the hub. Bearings are fine. Just replace the seals and then the hub can go back together again. Yay! Over here, got the stub axle on, torqued it all down, CV joint's gone in. When you're putting the CV joint in, just make sure you get the right bloody CV joint, won't you? Because there are differences. Certainly on the ABS stuff, when it comes to ABS, it does make a very, very, very big difference whether you've got a 24 or a 10 spline diff. And we're not counting those splines, we're counting the splines off the drive shaft where they go into the diff. So it's always worthwhile, before you lube everything up, make sure the drive shaft fits into the CV joint, make sure the drive plate fits into the CV joint. And if they both fit in, then you're all top and good and cushy. Oh yes. Right, I'm going to put this disc on after I've cleaned it all up. Brake calipers. Probably a bit late in the day ready for me to be checking this out, but they're not the best. This is all corrosion here. Corrosion. That seal is coming out. On this one, it's just as bad. You can see that the pistons are all corroded. Now these are AP Lockheed original calipers. I've been on to Big Red, Google them, BIGGRED. But yeah, they'll refurb these for $155 including the VAT, plus delivery of course. So I'm going to get them boxed up and send them over. Little more haggis, another bite. Right, okay, got the turbo fitted, that's all in with its gaskets and so forth. That clamp there was actually in place before I took it all apart, and I'm just wondering if there's some sort of heat shield on that. I'll double check the parts manuals. Steering box, I've put the new joint on the end there, I don't know if you can see that or not. New joints on there, I can put the steering drag link in place now. Today I started fiddling around. Oh, sorry, the power steering pump is in on its new back bracket. That's beautiful. Came with the short hose. I've got the long hoses are being sorted out at the moment. Sorry, the oil cooler just fell over then for a second. I've got a slight challenge here as to the routing for the power cable. Now I've got a feeling that it's going to be fairly close. If I hook that onto there, it's actually not that bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. The problems I've got are where the power goes underneath or behind the turbo is actually quite close to the turbo now. I've got a feeling when these pipes are in place here, it will keep the power cable away from the steering shaft, which goes from there up to there. It's over there somewhere. So that's been this morning's challenges. Power steering pump I'm happy with now. It's bang in line with the pulley. Alternator. Oh, bastard. Right, okay, so what we're missing here, and the reason the radiator's out, is there should be a bracket that goes onto the edge of the engine just down here. I've been in touch with the chap who sold me the other brackets, the big bastard up there, and so forth. And he's says he's still got the engine, and I can see the bracket is on the engine that he's got there. So I've asked him if he can send that to me, please. And then the alternator will be done. Water pump gasket needs to be cut out. Thermostat needs to be tested. Cooling system can go back together again. I want to back flush the radiator and also the heater matrix. The heater matrix is now taking its Coca-Cola, and it doesn't take 4 hours for it to soak through. It goes in about a minute or two, but I still need to back flush that through. I think today really is going to be about just sorting odds and sods out around the engine bay. I'm going to get all of that mess sorted out over there. So all I guess I need to do is I need to clean up this plate. That's the blanking plate for where the steering column would have gone through on this. As you can see, Land Rover went through this phase of powder coating shit, and I think they just powder coated it over bare steel with no kind of primer, and the metal was probably rusty before they even did it, because that's how they end up. I'm going to sneeze. No, I'm not. I am going to sneeze. So we'll get that lot sorted out there. So that's then done. Door's just opened. I've got the I see you painted some of the bloody Loom there. That's silly, wasn't it, really? I've got some body sealing to put around the edges there, and I'll go over that as and when I do it. The dust is coming through the door over here. That's another thing I need to sort out. God, it's never ending. It's fun though. It is fun. Right, I've actually got a new oil filter as well, so I might as well fit that. This piece of wiring here, this is for the brake sensors, and as you can see, the end is missing off it. So I'm going to try and find, I should have one somewhere, but it needs to go into that connector just there. I could also put the flexes in, I suppose. Seam seal down here, get this all painted. Let's have a day on this, get it sorted. Front hubs are all now done completely, apart from the quick clean of the brake discs, and put the calipers back on on both sides. So this is all sorted now. Drag link can go back in, goes onto that joint there. Yeah. Right, let's stop telling people what I'm going to do, and let's actually start doing something. Been a busy old day, actually. Right, so what have I been doing? Because hopefully you can see some difference here. So clutch master's gone in. Been routing the Loom around more accurately, more carefully. I still need to do the main battery cable that goes to the back of the starter motor. It goes that direction, but I'm not convinced that it's routed correctly. Put a new oil filter on, put a new fuel filter on. found out what that dodgy loom was, this fella, and it's actually a loom to do with the diesel heater, but one of the plugs is broken on it. That plug there, the earth plug, is broken. And basically what it's got a thermostat or sensor, temperature sensor, and it's got a heater ring which heats the diesel fuel before it goes into the engine. I'll have to investigate. I'll have to find out if it's essential to the VM. If so, I'll need to get another one of those connectors. Fitted a new bonnet hinge and the spring. The passenger side bulkhead plate has gone back in, so I cleaned all of the exterior powder coat off that. I've painted it and put it back in. I fitted grommets where I can. There's one grommet about there somewhere that I still need to fit. Sorting out the loom on this side of the engine, which I think actually goes up behind the fuel filter. The alternator wiring and everything's in place. Now, when it comes to the alternator positive battery terminal, I think it's too short. I'm going to need to get a longer cable for that. Or the battery needs to go the other way around. I don't know. One or the other. Something's going to need to change on that because it won't quite reach up to the terminal. That's one thing I need to fix. Inside, seam seal the arse out of this thing. So used a what have I used? I've had success with this stuff before. See, I've had a bit of a move around cars in the workshop as well. So this stuff here is Tetrasil. It's a rubberized seam sealer. Stays fairly soft actually, but squirting it into the gaps and then using a paintbrush just to smooth it over. And I've been around underneath here as well and done the seam sealer on the arches. Underneath everything now is as tight as I can possibly get it. This little connector here is the connector which should connect up with the glow plug relay circuit, and this has got 7 pins on it, and the one that came with the car had 6 pins on it. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm just going to cut here, cut there, but collect them together. Now we've been messing around with butt connectors before for now on the heater unit, which I've done a separate video on because some people have been asking me how it is to put the heater unit back together. These little fellas, these are butt connectors, so it's a nice big tube of shrink wrap and a metal sleeve in the middle there. You poke one wire in, you poke the other wire in, and you crimp it in the middle and melt the heat shrink, and it creates a nice connection. It's not entirely watertight, so you wouldn't use it in extreme circumstances, but it's good enough for this sort of application. I haven't got any other connector, because it would appear that this connector is very, very specific to a 1980 loom, and that connector is very specific to a 1991 loom. They're both wrist connectors, and alas, there is a difference. So the relay normally sits on this screw up here, and there's a connector for it. So I think all I'm going to do is, we've got no battery in this car at the moment, I'm just going to be brave. There we go. Right, so now we've done that, we're going to really just splice this thing together. Do the same thing with this one. Now, what we've effectively got, because this was the left-hand drive loom, that went to the terminal post on the other side of the car over there, which is now the driver's side. I could extend this over the bulkhead and put it back onto the terminal post, but there's actually 2 brown wires in this loom here. So I suspect what I'm going to end up doing is splicing the 2 brown wires together. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that yet, but we'll have a play. So all I want to do really is just chop this fella off, which is all I'm going to do. Well, that's all I'm going to try and do. That I didn't want to cut through, right. And then we're just going to splice like for like. So I'll pull the loom through a little bit actually. There we are. Right, so the first one we've got here is a white and white. So up here on this, just pull this little connector off here. We should have a white and white. There it is. A white and white. Whiter than white. And then we've got a white and red. We've got black and white, black and yellow. I've been through all this already, and I know that we've got all of these connectors on here. Now, for this little fella, we're going to use the small butt connectors, pink ones. Just got a smaller hole in the middle of it. So let's, first of all, What I'll do is I'll put the crimps on here first of all, so I'm less cat-handed. Let's get this out of the way. Oh, this is far too long. Farts. Right. Somewhere here I should have my little wire stripper. Just strip the wire back. You'd have to go berserk with it, because as long as there's enough of it to go into the butt connector. Standing on the fucking cable, get off it, you bastard. Right. Anger issues, I'm afraid, Richard. Anger issues. That goes in there. We get the butt connector. We get the crimp. And we go. Crimp. Done. And that one goes on to. That is just pure. It's actually got a black tracer on it, white and black. Let's go through the others and just double check. Black and yellow. That's black and grey. Is that one black and yellow? It's all a bit tangled up down here. Let's just get it untangled. There's a red and white. Got that one. It's definitely a red and white. Got that. Got that. It's the worst case scenario is I end up getting a wiring diagram out to just make sure that I splice the correct bit to each. Now I've spliced rear light looms and all sorts of things using this stuff. It's just an alternative to using the bullets and the plastic push connectors. There's that one. There's the black and white, or black and grey, whatever colour that's going to be. It's there. It's always nice that these wires don't look all black and corroded. If they did, then I'd be remaking the whole bloody loom. But one, two, three. Which one are we missing? Ah, here we are, black and yellow. I'll connect up the ones that we know exist. I'm going to chop this unfeasibly long yellow cable off. I might have just crimped that one just a little bit too short. No, it's gone. Right, let's push him in. It stays in there. Right, so this thing here needs to go over to there. I'm going to chop this in half. Just do not need this amount of black and yellow cable. I'll chop it in half and I'll give it. Nice big cable. Right. Now we've got the brown feet. We'll leave the brown feet as it is for the time being. What have we got down here? We've got red and white. That's an easy one. Trim it on. Red and white. And red and white. I actually prefer this style of colour coding. It's easy to read. Right, that goes in there. Mr. Butt crimp. Crimped and on. Then we've got black and white. we go. Right, so the only one we're waiting for now is the feed, the brown feed, which is going to be these two, and then I've got a white, pure white, and I've got a pure black. Time for the wiring diagram, I think. Right, so this is the circuit down here. So I think 143 is the timer, is the relay. 144 is the glow plugs. 143, 144, great. So we've got yellow and black going down to the glow plugs, which is fine. And then we've got 2 brown wires going in. We've got a white, red. We've got a white. We've got a black and yellow, and we've got a plain black, which is interesting. What we don't have is the other black, the black and grey. I don't know what the black and grey does, but it definitely goes into the back of the relay switch. So there's no plain black. So I don't know what the earth is doing. What is 141? 141 cold start warning lamp, which is good. So that's the white one. I've sort of, yeah, right, because there's a plain white one here as well. I think what I need to do, because this is a wiring diagram here for 1989 models, which matches the adapter. Now let's go on to, we've got a 1990 Loom in here. 1990 Loom. Let's put a grommet or something in there. So 1990 glow plugs and timer. 143, 144, good. Hot wire. The page message. No, it's here. Silly ass. 143. Brown, brown, yellow, black, white, red, white, black, yellow, and whatever black is. So black, yellow, white, red, white, white, red, brown, brown. Yeah. This is interesting, isn't it? That's good. So the only real one I've got now that I'm concerned about is this black wire here. So I have got a two cables. I've got a black, yellow, which goes up towards the warning switch, and I've then got black something. So I've got black and grey somewhere. I don't know what the black and grey does.